All right, welcome everyone to another video. What if one of the cheapest, simplest ways to lower your dementia risk was just hanging out with other humans? No pills, no fancy gadgets, just friends, family, clubs, volunteering, regular social participation. Well, the title of this week's video is based on a meta review that was done by the following authors. This was published in 2023 in the journal Nature Aging, called Social Participation and Risk of Developing Dementia. You can go ahead and pause the video if you want to read the abstract. But the gist of this is that they found out that people who stay socially active in midlife and older age have a 30 to 50% lower risk of developing dementia. We're going to be breaking down what the science actually says in this video, the good, the caveats, and what you can realistically do about it. So, let's get a little nice visual here. Let's just get started. So, social participation and dementia can friends protect your brain? Let's find out. So, in previous videos, if you're been keeping up on some of mine, I've been talking about this at length. Basically, the fact is, the cost of dementia is going to be increasing in a couple of years if it's not taken care of. Over 55 million people worldwide already live with dementia, and that number is still climbing hard. Treatment options are limited, so prevention isn't just nice right now, it's becoming critical. We have to take this more seriously. The cost right now is about $263 billion a year, and that is projected to increase to $1.6 trillion by 2050. So the question researchers keep asking is, could staying socially connected be one of the levers we actually have control over? So what is social participation? So social participation, broader than just having friends, it's regular engaging with other people in meaningful ways. That could be hanging out with them, family gatherings, volunteering, clubs and groups, religious communities, sports community or community activities, or hanging out with people, with workmates after work, or keeping up with peers from long time, keeping up with as much social activities as you can do to ensure that you're kind of like in the society and in the community. So if you're consistently interacting with other humans in real life, that counts. But what's the finding? So the headline from the review is greater social participation in midlife and late life is linked to a 30 to 50% lower subsequent risk of dementia. That is not a tiny fact, that's huge. Important disclaimer though, this is observational evidence. Association is not the same as proven cause and effect, but the consistency across studies is hard to ignore. It's essential to kind of like take that with a caveat, because when I was reading the review, there were some studies that were doing a lot of reverse causation, which what that means is when you do the research again, it turns out that the cause, that what the research said was the cause, is not actually the cause. So then it has to be discredited and not taken as true fact. And that was basically something that was being found a lot in a lot of the papers. So you can just go ahead and do the reading yourself and find out the benefits outweigh the costs, right? Meaning, like, it's better to do these things for your own sake as opposed to not doing them at all. Okay. So what does social participation work? So it builds cognitive reserve. You have better cardiovascular health, reduces chronic stress, it keeps the brain mentally active, right? Okay, so I can talk about cognitive reserve a little bit more here. So what is cognitive reserve? So this is basically extra brain capacity and backup networks. Conversations, problem solving, reading social cues, these are high level mental workouts. It needs a lot of mental bandwidth to do that type of stuff. More reserve means the brain can take more damage before symptoms show up. So you kind of have a little bit of a buffer before anything starts happening, because in these areas they tend to have a lot of um the, uh, cross sectional activity, in a sense that that activity gives it more reason to recruit most of the protective factors around it. So you have more antioxidants around them. You have more immune cells cleaning up. You have more. You have less autophagy, less apoptosis among neurons. So this kind of makes it so that even if there's like neurons on these sides that are kind of dying and releasing all these dangerous factors. They're those factors are not affecting these neurons, and these neurons are still able to do all the daily activities that you were able to do before. So the cardiovascular health usually comes with chilling with hanging out with people, because when you're hanging out with people, you tend to want to engage in more healthy activities, so that you can keep hanging out with them, so you can keeping up with them in a sense. You don't want to be the person who needs help standing up all the time. You want to be the person who's helping the other person, type thing. So you also have the lower chronic stress that we talked earlier. So if you're with people, obviously you're not really thinking about the stress that you have, so you're more likely to kind of engage in that situation and put all that stuff in the back of your mind at the time being. Whereas when you're alone, that's all you think about. And when you have stress, you have low immune, and if you have low immune, then you're more infection, and more infection leads to more problems. So it's simply keeping your brain active will kind of prevent all this. All right, so think of cognitive reserve like a backup generator. The more robust your networks from years of social engagement, the longer you can keep the lights on, even if pathology starts building up. So take this. You can go ahead and Google this, but a fact is that when people get older, even if they have healthy brains, they tend to show high density of neurofibrillary tangles and amyloid plaques, hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease and all these other dementias that I've been talking about in all my videos. In all the videos that I've talked about these diseases, there's always a buildup of these things, and these things cause a myriad of problems that cause the neurons to die. If you have this cognitive reserve, that will prevent you from having that. So you can say that even people, even if the person was not, um, they weren't showing any type of symptoms, they still had the amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tangles within their brains. You can go ahead and look it up. It's actually quite intriguing. So it makes you think whether how important it is to be doing these things, and how important it should be for you to take these things into consideration, so that you can prevent them from causing any more harm for you and the people that you love. But what's the catch? So let's talk about the honest part. People in the early stages of dementia often start withdrawing socially before they get diagnosed. So some of the association might be reverse causation, which I talked about earlier. Low social activity could be an early symptom, not only a cause. The review is clear. Strong observational evidence exists, but we still can't claim pure cause and effect yet. Yeah, so this is the intervention studies. So what about if you try to increase social activity on purpose? So these intervention studies show benefits for mood and cognition. That's real, but so far they haven't clearly reduced actual dementia diagnoses. Why? Most trials are too small and too short. Dementia develops over decades, so you can't prove prevention in a 2-year study with a couple hundred people. It's not enough. But what's the public health message here? So as always, it's always good to exercise. As always, that's probably one of the most important things you can do. But it's also important to take these into consideration as well. So the researchers say the evidence is strong enough that social health should start showing up in dementia prevention strategies. So you have to join clubs, volunteer in a hospital, or in a food bank, or one of those adoption places, perhaps pet adoption places. Stay connected with family, show up to community events as much as possible. Just keep regular social interaction going, and this is very important when you get into middle age and those other older ages as well. It's if and even if you have like people or relatives who might be having or showcasing the symptoms, it's important to try to like get them to even join them, even if they do are showing them, because you never know, perhaps it could lead to some sort of remission. So that's the final takeaway right there. Social participation is consistently linked with lower dementia risk. It probably works through multiple biological and psychological routes, especially building cognitive reserve. We still need larger trials to lock down causation. That's like the ending of all my videos, but the practical message is already useful. A healthy social life may be one of the simplest ways to support long-term brain health. That's it. No miracle cure. Just a low-cost, high-upside habit that the evidence keeps pointing towards. So I hope you guys like the video. Go ahead and just leave a review under the video and let me know if there's anything I could do to improve them, make them more engaging, make them more interesting. All right, thanks again, and I hope you have a good day. All right, take care. Bye.